Empty plea. Lawyer claims Chesebro testimony won't implicate Trump. Two top lawyers associated with indicted former President Donald Trump have pled out in the Georgia RICO case, but one attorney's representation says the plea deal won't harm alleged co-conspirators. Time equals 400 ms. greater than part of the requirement in Kenneth Chesebro's plea deal, which allowed him to accept guilt for only a single felony, rather than the slate of charges against him in the indictment, is that he must testify against his accused co-conspirators if called to do so. Those co-defendants include the former president, Donald Trump. Now, Chesebro's attorney, Scott Grubman, is arguing, on television, not in court, that Chesebro won't implicate Trump or anyone else in his confession. He says only Chesebro is implicated in his guilty plea, and while he'll do his duty and testify if called, Chesebro is unlikely to be a witness to anyone else's wrongdoing. He's also arguing that Chesebro's plea deal was accepted not because he could provide piles of information about his co-conspirators, but because the state just wasn't ready to go to trial, although that contrasts with District Attorney Fani Willis' request to take all 19 defendants to trial together in October. He said, Mr. Chesebro did take responsibility for conspiracy to commit filing false documents. He did not implicate anyone else. And while he is required to go testify truthfully if he's called by the state, but also at the same time if he's called by a defendant he will come testify truthfully. Time equals 400 ms. greater than. It sounds much like a message for an audience of one, a certain high-profile co-conspirator who is aiming to return to an office that has pardon power, though not for state charges. Grubman added, someone asked me earlier, if you were Donald Trump, would you be worried? And I could personally, honestly answer no. It's not that Mr. Chesebro's trying to protect Mr. Trump. But I can say that I personally do not believe the state will call him to testify on their behalf. You can see his full interview below. During Chesebro's plea hearing, the state described their case, saying that if they had gone to trial, they would have shown that the defendant and co-conspirators Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, and others entered into a criminal conspiracy for the purposes of creating a false slate of electors and filing false documents to alter the outcome of the 2020 election. Time equals 400 ms. greater than. Neither Chesebro nor his representation denied any of the above in court, but TV interviews are not given under oath. Steph Basil covers politics and theocracy, always aiming for a world free from extremism and authoritarianism. Follow Steph on Twitter at I'mJustOstif. Time equals 400 ms. greater than. Stephanie Basil. Steph Basil is a newswriter who covers politics and theocracy, always aiming for a world free from extremism and authoritarianism. Follow Steph on Twitter at I'mJustOstif. Sign up for all of her stories to be delivered to your inbox here. Latest posts.